cash crisis worse. Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 they want to call monetary awareness. All right, we are live for a Monday night news recap of all the activity that took place today, and it looks like something stepped in to save the day, as there has been what appears to be a complete reversal of all stock market sell-off activity with a surge out of the Nikkei. And so it looks like it wasn't time, after all, for that plug to be removed and for things to unravel at the seams. So not surprising, but I guess right on time. And so, as I mentioned last night from the rant, the idea of there being some type of emergency meeting where, we had all the central bankers on a Zoom meeting trying to figure out what to do. And it looks like, as of now, the markets might open up in the green. So that's a good news. That's good news for those who are probably panicking. And also a lot of things that we can take away from today's activity, because people who are have accounts at those major brokerage firms, they found out that that was the exit point that they were not allowed to access during the day. So we're going to talk about that and a couple other things, but hope everyone is doing well. Having a enjoyable Monday evening, depending on where you're watching from. And let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know what other details were revealed throughout the day in reference to what happened today. But then again, it just, to me, just goes to show how manipulated and how fake these markets really are, because literally the powers that be stepped in to make sure that there was no more cause for concern as of now. But the more propping up they do, the greater the fall when it unfortunately unravels or they pull the plug. So I got a couple headlines here worth bringing to your attention. So we'll have some fun with it. But other than that, man, these type of reversals, there's nothing natural whatsoever about them. It's 100% artificial. And that, to me, should be of more concern to people into thinking that, like, are you still really investing? Like, is this considered investing when they, at the drop of a dime, can just reverse things and make it very positive and then put a good spin on it? So anyway, but yeah, man, let me know if you guys can hear me. Sorry about the issues I had earlier. I'm not sure what happened, but things do happen every blue moon. So hopefully the audio is good. Hopefully everything is good. It says melt up hyperinflation was always the plan. No doubt. But before we get to that melt up phase, I think there's going to have to be some type of justifiable excuse as to why intervention will be needed. And then that would ultimately lead me to believe that there would have to be some type of major deflationary correction or crash that would then lead to things shooting off through the roof. And so basically what we're seeing right now out of the Nikkei is, I haven't followed the Japanese indexes like that closely, but based upon the sell-off that took place on Monday, for there to be a complete reversal and then the Nikkei to start recouping some of those losses from weeks past, that is an anomaly right there. And so I do believe that there will be a melt up after some type of event forces the Fed to pivot and there to be some type of direct injection. But as of now, other than what we have not been told, somebody stepped in. And so I would assume it has something to do with the Western powers that be that intervened and stopped the panic or stopped the bleeding for now. But we'll see. So somebody says another bailout. X says, Mike, QE coming this month or next month. 20 trillion is coming. Yeah, and that's one thing. I don't doubt that, unprecedented amounts of currency will be created. And, it could appear and could seem like that'd be a good thing for those who have real tangible assets, because you're going to be the ones absorbing some of that liquidity. But then you got to think about the other 99% of the population that don't own anything. And then you factor in all the additional millions of foreigners that are here that never owned anything, period. It won't be a pleasant environment. And, one thing I think we can get a glimpse of how society can be destabilized is just look what's happening in the UK right now. I'm seeing videos about basically the Brits are taking beatings from foreigners, literally people dressed in black with, some type of flag in the streets. And that's a problem. And the unfortunate part about what's happening in the UK is that I don't think the citizens are able to actually own guns. So they are unarmed. And then I saw a video of, it looks like a group of definitely Middle Eastern men with like little short swords, and they just dance in the street with the swords. And I'm like, man, that's definitely some stuff you would see in those third world Middle Eastern type countries, but that's in the UK. So yeah, those are things to be concerned with. So Ed says, do you think we will see war in the Middle East soon? Ed, great question, man. And so that's kind of where I'm going to end up going this evening, because right now we had today, we had a meeting in the White House in the war room. And so whenever the U.S. goes in the war room, unpleasant things happen. And it ultimately leads to American boots on foreign lands. And so literally, since Israel has basically destabilized the Middle East by agitating and pointing the blame at all their surrounding countries and actually doing things to provoke them, on top of the idea of defending themselves, they're literally dragging the U.S. into a military conflict. So yes, war is on the table. And I would assume that a lot of this so-called 24-hour reversal with the equities markets might have something to do with the need to not have two battles to concern themselves with. They don't want to have to worry about the monetary financial issues that would have ensued into day two had they not stepped into the events happening in Asia, because they want to ultimately concentrate on what the Middle East is about to go through. And now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if, I do believe that the forces that are controlling narratives as well as the agendas happen to come from Israel and the people who run Israel, the string masters up top. I wouldn't be surprised if, Israel gave the commands to the West that, hey, we can't have a stock market issue right now. Go ahead and paper that over real quick. Make sure Japan doesn't bring the rest of the market down, because we can't afford all that extra stuff. We got to focus on completing the mission, which is to destabilize the Middle East. And in particular, they need, unfortunately, they need that Middle Eastern conflict with Iran. So, and it looks like Iran might be taking the bait, but then again, they have Russia on their side. And so you see how none of this is by accident. Everything is intentional. And even if it appears for a moment that something might be out of their hands, they can paper over some things really quickly to change the narrative and then to change the channel and have us focusing on something else. And so in the meantime, 99.99% of the people who woke up this morning and was concerned about their financial accounts, especially when they couldn't log in to Fidelity. Let me just share with you real quick. So here's a headline that came out. Let me find this one. Here's the headline that came out. Where'd it go? Give me 1 second. This is something that would really concern me if when stuff hits the fan, you trapped inside. So it says Schwab, Fidelity, resolve temporary disruption. So literally think about this. On the day the markets are selling off, and so these companies here contain majority of the financial futures of the working class that have parked their funds into those products that they serve. And they both had temporary disruptions. Like, that is a deliberate flipping of the switch that was intentionally done, I would assume, when they had that Zoom meeting with all the financiers on the call to try to figure out how they're gonna, keep this from escalating beyond what it should be. I wouldn't be surprised if the CEO Schwab, CEO Fidelity, BlackRock, all the major hedge funds and broker houses and everything like that were all on that same call. And they literally said, hey, we can't have people looking to panic sell, further putting pressure downward on these on the Magnificent Seven, the Big Ten, whatever they call it. And so, hey, just hit the switch, temporary glitch. Everybody can't access their accounts. There'll be no additional downward trajectory pressures. And so we'll be fine. But once again, if everything is controlled from beginning to end, is this investing? Is this still investing? Are we still able to invest? Or this literally a rigged casino? Like literally, this is the casino in like Vegas type stuff, like where the house is against you and the house has set up everything to make sure that you stay in their house. They give you free drinks, free booze, and pump the whole air with oxygen to keep you happy. And if you get out of line, they shut it down. Anyway, but real quick, this is just some things that I think is worth people considering for those that care. Charles Schwab and Fidelity Investments have resolved technical issues with their apps. The online brokerages said on Monday, on a day users rushed to trade as markets slumped on rising fears of a U.S. recession. So just the narrative, as markets slumped on rising risks, on rising fears of U.S. recession. Everybody who's watching alternative media know the economy is already, all the indicators flash red. We're already in a recession. I got another little graph here to bring your attention to once again shows, historically speaking, when certain things happen, it's obvious where we're at, but they got to control the narrative. So some customers struggled to log into their accounts, the companies had said earlier in the day, without elaborating. And so imagine, let me know if anybody out here tuning in right now happened to have logged in to check and see if like they could have done some things, whether not even necessarily sell. It could have been a great buying opportunity for a lot of those overpriced stocks that people might have interest in. So everybody got their own strategies, but I would assume that they didn't want nothing outside of their control to take place, so they hit the switch. So not surprising, but as Daryl says, all the trading platforms were down today. I couldn't log into anything. Yeah, like I was actually, some of the apps that I don't have accounts with, but just some of the apps that I log into to check price action were acting up as if their APIs were out of commission, or perhaps, once again, we would never find out, but just say for example, there might have been some type of bootleg, not cyber, but literally the same crowd strike from a week ago, that little incident that came out of nowhere. Perhaps it was something of that level that, cut some things off. So who knows? I don't know, but we'll find out. We say here, says, if you invest, you'll be helping get Kamala elected. Yeah, so X.com, people be posting some crazy videos, man. And there's a clip circulating of Kamala on stage talking about woke. And I don't know what the context was, but it's just a 15-second clip of her laughing about, being woke and needing to stay woke and being the wokest. And I'm thinking, like, and the ladies that's interviewing her are like looking at her like, what the hell is she talking about? Like, what? And Kamala's, she throws in a laugh with everything as if like she's giving some type of grand speech or so. It's comical. So I actually wonder, like, I've never seen her actually present information in a way where I walked away like, man, like she got her stuff together. Like she knows, what I'm saying? She knows some things. Like I always walk away from these sound bites like, was this chick for real? Like, did she really go to law school? Was she really, attorney general? Like, was she really like that? Or did she, work her way up? You know what I mean? Anyway, so real quick, let's go through some numbers, man. So as of now, just to see how things kind of ended up, man, it was a record sell-off globally speaking. And it looks like tomorrow morning market is going to open, even U.S. futures is looking positive right now. Stock market news today, global stock rout deepens as Dow Jones over 1,100, S&P, Nasdaq down, sink 3%. That's not good. And so here's some of the current headlines circulating. Unraveling trade fuels global market rout. And then it says 1987 all over again. And then we have here Japanese stocks bond back as U.S. futures rally. Then we have, let's get into some other things here. Oh, I just showed you that one. So here we got Japan share benchmark soars nearly 11% a day after massive sell-offs that shook Wall Street. There's nothing natural about Japan surging. So what does that look like? This is what it looks like. Let me go back here and find my so as of right now, this is the market activity. This is in the Western Hemisphere. Dow Jones closed down 2.6, S&P down 3, Nasdaq down 3.4, and the volatility index is shooting up through the roof. And I've even seen some graphs showing how whenever the volatility index shoots up the way that it's doing, that is recessionary type fears. So like, okay, that's another little trigger or warning. All right, so let's get into some of the activity right now from the markets that are open. Let's go down to the bottom where it's green. And so as of now, there's more green than red. And I'm assuming that's a good thing. But you let me know if these figures here are natural. So here we got the Nikkei 225. It's up 10.51%. It has rallied 3,200 points within the last couple of hours. And there's nothing natural about this. So as you can see here, let me get in here to give you a better view. Let's go one day. All right, so here, this is here. So this is that ongoing sell-off to where it bottomed out at 30,601, and literally markets open. It goes from 30,000 all the way up to 33,883. It opened at. And now it's cruising steadily along back where it was. Let's just see how far this goes back. So nowhere near where it was at 41,000 a month ago. But based upon whoever stepped in, it could possibly mellow out around 34,000 or so. But then what does that do for us? It has us over here. Let me zoom in some. So as of right now, looking at U.S. futures, everything's in the green as of now. So barring some type of unforeseen event, it could remain that way. So, yeah, I guess a turn of events. But then again, let's look on X real quick. There's a lot of things happening on X. And so this is what is front and center at this moment. And as I just mentioned, it's probably likely that the controlling forces would prefer to focus on war now rather than trying to go against the plan of trying to prop up the markets and things of that nature. Because having two battles is not ideal. You just want to focus on one. So real quick here, it says here, Israel braces for imminent attack from Iran. So think about this. Even yesterday, the fact that Iran went out publicly, their leader there saying, basically broadcasting, once again, they're telling the world, we're going to respond. We're going to attack. And I'm thinking like these modern day wars that we've witnessed over the last couple of months where you just forecast and you tell your enemy you're coming. Imagine so that right there leads me to really question how authentic these battles are, other than them probably being scripted or because I don't think this is modern. I don't think this is warfare, like real warfare where you sneak in on your enemy, you know what I'm saying? Like, and try to surprise them to cause the most damage rather than telling them so they can get ready and, get the shields up and, move some things around and, have a good meal before they send his troops out to the streets. And so none of this is real, man. None of this feels real. It feels all scripted in a sense. And it's unfortunate, but this is the day we're in. Like, this could be the ultimate form of what you call it, not necessarily. I usually use the word political theater when I talk about politics. When you got the good guy versus bad guy, they go up in campaign stages and just bash the other opponent, saying nothing of substance, but just say the same thing over and over again. That type of political theater. But this is probably, let me think of a word like military theater, or give me a word that would probably fit a narrative to describe, a fake or not fake, but when you have multiple parties working together to accomplish a goal type narrative. But anyway, so reporter, Israel is on edge today. Man, let me get this right. Israel is on edge today as country braces for an attack from Iran and its proxies. The Wall Street Journal reports that Iran told U.S. and Arab diplomats it didn't care if a counterstrike. Let me fix this. If a counterstrike, let me get myself out the way here. If a counterstrike, where we go? Man, I gotta get my screen over here. If a counterstrike caused a war in the region, Israel is taking steps to prepare for the future. For a prolonged conflict, reports indicate the initial Iranian response could come in waves and include extensive missile and drone attacks. So once again, you got reporters getting ready, all the people behind the scenes getting ready. Like, is this a war? It's like literally like just a way of sending pawns. Like it's like a big chess game. And you got the people in the very back, which are the banks, controlling the pawns. Iran is a pawn. The citizens and the military of Israel that's going to go to war, and unfortunately, there could be massive casualties. You know, the casualties are being treated as pawns. They're moving, you know, chess pieces on a big board, and it's all funded by, you know, taxpayer dollars for the most part. So, yeah, so war is imminent, man. So I think this is probably what has brought about the sudden change in the market activity that could work, or maybe it won't, because Japan's problems hasn't gone away. They haven't gone away. And if there is some paper pushing, propping up on the back end, it has to do more with the USD and some type of possible backdoor bailout that, once again, is not going to solve $20 trillion problem. So it's going to be more to come. So, but I think they would rather have the excuse of pivoting, if need be, from war, because they got to go protect this and do that. And of course, the narrative will be Iran and, you know, all the proxies that they support, they're the enemies. So it's easier to fund that, I think, with that narrative than to worry about having to fund a market meltdown, because it really would throw them off heading into this election. Because once again, I think they do care somewhat about the narrative as far as Harris trying to, you know, get some real support, because as of now, she has no real backing whatsoever in no community. So we'll see. All right. So just more headline. When I see these headlines, Israel braces for Iran attack as U.S. works to revive coalition that foiled April assault. So, yeah, the U.S. So whatever happens with Israel will eventually impact the U.S. And that's what's real. That is what's real. All right. So what else we got here? Scorched earth. Anything coming out of TV is a lie. Jimmy, 100%. 100%. And it's a lie. I would. Okay. It ends up being a lie because ultimately it's propaganda. It's framing narratives that used to be able to get the audiences and the citizens support, but as of now, nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants to have anything to do with whatever's going on. But at this point, they've gotten beyond the point of needing permission. They do it anyway, just because the populace can't do anything about it. You know, the 300 plus million Americans that is getting robbed in real time, we will never be able to unify for a common cause of taking back what is supposed to be ours, which is the government is supposed to be for the people, by the people, but it's 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 the complete opposite. So they will be able to pull any narrative they want and get it done because they don't even bother to ask anymore. They do what they want. They send it. And a good example of this is the funds that they've sent to Ukraine. Biden has made it his personal mission, the big guy, to fund Zelensky, and they pumped billions, and nothing has come from that. There's been there's no winning that war, especially against Russia, because Russia is a much more superior force. And so literally they're funneling funds through Ukraine into BlackRock coffers and then back through special interest groups into politicians' pockets. And so, good by now, a lot of people realize that and know that. But once again, what do you do about it? What do we do about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Laura P says, when something goes wrong at the circus, they bring in the clowns for a distraction. Yeah, 100%. Jimmy Hess says, why did Biden give Iran $6 billion? Great question. I want to say it definitely has something to do with the some previous promises of funds that was due. I think it was due to them, but it was being withheld until certain conditions were met with their uranium enrichment. And I think, I'm not sure, I got to validate this, but I think they end up allowing investigators to come in and make sure they weren't doing uranium, and they met some criteria that the U.S. set for them to unlock some of those funds. So whether the fund was owed to them or was funds that was held, based upon being confiscated, I don't know. But anyway, I know it was some stipulations with that, and of course, Trump wasn't willing to give it away for nothing. But as soon as Trump left, Biden came in office, and he was like, "Here, take this money. Ultimately, go ahead and enrich that uranium and do everything you got to do to prepare a nuclear weapon," which a report I saw the other day said that they have it now. And so that's just more of a reason for Israel now to say that they're a threat because they have the funds, they got the support of Russia. And so literally the U.S. wasn't set up to do that, but they were told to do that from whoever they take, whoever they take answers, or whoever they take, I'm trying to think, whoever they take their commandments from. Simulation. The real Jarvis. That's a good word there. Simulation. Yeah, this is all a strategically created simulation. Innocents are always the victims of circumstances, unfortunately. 100%. The casualties of war are the middle people who don't know what's going on, and they actually still believe mainstream media, and they actually think that a politician can campaign or make promises that they individually can actually accomplish without the approval of the rest of Congress. Because unless it's something that it benefits the politicians directly, there's never a quick bipartisan agreement on anything except stimulus checks and except all the things that literally benefits them as well. Anything else that is counter the narratives of the left or the conservative side, they always got some type of beef in between. They got us trapped in a big simulation with laser manipulation. RTD, how much more of this is going to take for a good Lord to intervene? Oh, man. I mean, despite conditions looking somewhat bad, they're not really all that bad, especially here in the U.S. Like, even though the markets might have some hiccups here, we got, foreign invaders just, terrorizing the country. It's still, we're still living in pretty good conditions compared to what the Bible says coming. And so I'm not gun ho, like, let's get, the tribulation type period started. So, Lord willing, won't be here for that. But, time is something that we're confined within. So the good Lord exists beyond time. So to him, he literally just hung on a cross a couple of days ago type time. So it's, I wouldn't so much worry about the time before he intervenes. My thought would be like, okay, if I'm still alive, then I have a part to play in something that he wants to accomplish. And then that's when we get into the building up the body, and each one of us literally being a spokesman or an ambassador for Christ to help build out the body. So I would rather focus on that than worry about leaving or him coming back. So that would just be my thoughts there. So, yeah. But for my believers out there, I was ranting earlier about things that I would, enjoy talking about, and how, because all of this, it has to do with poor governance. That's why mankind is failing. Our leadership is not real leadership. But anyway, how politicians and each political party, the left and the right, come up with their own campaign slogans. Like for the right or the Republican, it's "Make America Great Again." And so people buy shirts and hats and put signs in their yard and all the things that, is another man's idea that they buy into because they think that somebody can do something. And then you got on the Democratic side, you got, democracy, the last fight, the last stand for democracy or some crap like that. Then you got people who will probably rally in. So you got two different narratives. But then again, we get these same things every 4 years. every 4 years, people. Every 4 years, we talk about the same thing in a sense. The right point at the left point at the right. They pick 5 semi-important issues to use as campaign arguments to say why this party didn't do that and why this party did that. And they never talk about the true problems. And I'm thinking like, man, like we could do that. I mean, they the people who control this simulation, as just mentioned, because we're caught in a chicken coop with the illusion of freedom, we just running around like chickens with our head cut off, working, living, enjoying life within this chicken coop. And every 4 years we have a presidential election to so-called elect someone that's been selected to sit in a White House somewhere supposedly and represent the chicken coop. And we call that freedom. And it's the same issues over and over and over and over again. And so my thought earlier was like, man, like, wouldn't it be great to talk about something that matters? And that's where, you know, like, to me, this is just my faith, but the most important subject matter is what actually is in the words in red in the 4 gospel books of the gospel, where Christ literally spoke about, you know, the kingdom and the kingdom message, and how apart from 1 or 2 preachers, that's not even preached in churches. And so that'd be something we're focusing on. Like, you know, how can you make the kingdom of God relative in your life would be my slogan. Make the kingdom relative to yourself, because like that's where real change comes, in the heart of man. We can argue back and forth, and, you know, and people are so brainwashed and thinking that political parties are for them. It's nerve wracking. Anyway, I can talk about that all night, but yeah, it's interesting stuff, man. Sold out traders, 100%, man. These people, it's disgusting some of the things that these people do. But then again, they can get away with it because the average person don't know and too comfortable to care about the direction of our country. Just look at the figures that we're witnessing, you know, unpayable everything, you know, credit card debt, work, you know. Let me share some stuff with you real quick, man. Like, just I'm ranting a little bit about everything, but let me share some more things that I bookmark on X that I think is worthwhile. Okay, so speaking of war, here is, earlier I mentioned the in the situation room. So here we got something from POTUS, and this was 4 hours ago. Earlier, VP and I, of course, this is Biden's spokesman, VP and I were briefed in the situation room on developments in the Middle East. We received updates on threats posed by Iran and its proxies. So literally, like, as we can see here, we see the narrative they're trying to set. Because they, you know, the PR people for the current White House literally has been using this word Iran and proxies for the most part all of Biden's term. So that to me lets me know that, you know, Iran has always been the target of choice. And it so happened that if you have all these proxies that, of course, I question as actually being Iranian proxies, they could be U.S. funded agencies. But anyway, diplomatic efforts to de-escalate regional tensions and preparations to support Israel should it be attacked again. So right now, or earlier today, the U.S. is keeping an eye on Iran and its proxies so that they can prepare to support Israel should it be attacked again. So you look at this room here, and just to know this is all political theater. You got Biden at the head of the table, as if people really think this guy, look at this, like, does anybody really think this guy's like actually dialed in and paying attention and know what he's talking about? And it's just like, yeah. So, and then you got the VP right there. She's looking like with a pen in her hand, like she's actually doing something. So anyway, man, like, so look at this. You got everybody's name tag facing the camera for this photo op. So you got everybody, so you can see who's all participating, like, and you got the media on one side. It's so yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this is what's happening, man. So as of now, it was a false alarm. Stock market won't sell off completely just yet because they decided to prop it up and in preference for a war instead. So be on the lookout. for some type of event to occur. And since Iran gave Israel the heads up, it could be tonight. And then the markets, probably will surge, especially the military industrial complex stocks. So I never heard VP and I was briefed before. I don't know. I could be wrong. I never heard the VP and I were briefed. And then even on Fox, they were doing a commentary in front of the White House. And then the reporter's like, it looks like the vice president's motorcade is moving out now. And then the reporter's like, so is she still in the White House? Well, it doesn't look like she's still here. And he's like, yes, the meeting is still going on, but she's leaving right now. I'm like, what is this for? Yeah. So the contagion is contained. It's been papered over for now. So literally somebody stepped in to save the day. So we'll see. But anyway, so as of now, the markets, the futures are green. So that tomorrow could be positive. We could see a rally in U.S. equities, and the bond market settles down, and the focus is turned to whatever the event that might occur in the Middle East, and then we go from there. Because if we go to war, if there's a war, markets will rally like something fierce, because they're going to have to print money to fund wars, and war is profitable for those that are wanting war. And of course, the bankers are funding both sides, so they win no matter what. It says surge for now, but are we looking like we might be headed for a recession? If the surge continues, so we're literally in a stagflationary environment where certain sectors of the economy will be problematic while others will surge. And so asset classes, stocks will definitely, the cryptos will rally, metals might rally, housing prices will still probably trend down depending on what sectors. So it's going to be an environment where people who don't own nothing will continue to suffer, i.e. through higher consumer prices, but people who own assets will probably benefit from the surge. And that's usually how it goes. The haves will have more, and the have-nots will lose what they have. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. But until there's an outright correction across the board, which will be deflationary in of itself, it's when they come in with the relief to inflate the bubbles is when things will take off. So we are technically in a recession. Now, let me share that graph with you real quick here that I wanted to highlight, because there's always some good, let me find that real quick here, showing, okay, so here's that particular graph here showing based upon previous occurrences, this is what usually happens. Let me get myself out the way here. So this is, let me get out of here. All right, so this is from the 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, and this is the Sam Rule recession indicator that I mentioned the other day. It says let me get this. The Sam Rule recession indicator surged to 0.53 in July from 0.43, suggesting the U.S. economy is in a recession. It says the Sam Rule signals a downturn once the unemployment rate increases 0.5 percentage points above its previous 12-month low. After the unemployment rate, and of course, looks like X is changing the rules of the game up. Let me just read this to you here so you can see. So this is in relation to that whole recession question. 12-month low after the unemployment rate started, 4.1 in June, the rule has been triggered. So it jumped to 4.3% in July from 4.1 in June. The rule has been triggered over the last 65 years. There has not been a single occurrence where the indicator provided a false signal. Also, every time the threshold has been breached, the unemployment rate surged, accelerated. Are we in a recession? And so based upon this chart here, over the last 65 years, every time there's been an upward spike in unemployment, a recession followed. So as of right now, based upon what we're seeing over here, this surge indicates, if history serves as a good lesson to learn from, then this is another indicator, 1 out of 4, 5, or 6 that we've talked about before, showing that, yeah, a recession is current. But then again, as long as the markets are propped up, everything's in the green, they can get by for now. Lawrence Franklin says, this is just like the health scare crash. The market plunged 1,000, bounced almost to 1,000 and proceeded to plunge another 2 to 3 the following days. If this is a big crash, I expect to see fireworks. Good point, man. Yeah. And so once again, I'm sure they know that as well. And that's why there might be a reversal. But then again, just because markets are currently indicating that they might open green tomorrow, that's not no guarantee, because once again, it's a debt issue at this core. So something could give, something can break, and therefore there could be a more downward pressure, referring to what, mention what you're referring to. So we will see. But once again, as I mentioned before, Uncle Warren Buffett sitting on $277 billion. So obviously he's not allocating any of that cash just yet, because he's expecting something to be historical in nature before he starts going shopping. So, I was thinking about that the day earlier, literally slowing down certain aspects and literally really getting my cash game up as well, looking for the fire sale as well, just because I usually buy or DCA periodically and definitely buy dips. But I'm like, I might just hold off and wait for the big dip and try to get anything I can. But then one of my concerns about that, as I mentioned before, is that the small fry might be stuck within the bank, because they don't want people taking advantage of the dip, because of the big dip that Uncle Warren might be waiting on might be a banking systemic event where literally the big banks or the small banks literally are the problems, but they limit access or limit withdrawals on all banks, because they're trying to usher in the same plan for all the banking sector as a result of whatever might be coming. So you may not be able to get access to your cash. And so that's the catch. It's like, okay, how much do you want to keep ready to go if you got to spend it, or how much do you want out of the bank in actual physical cash? Because once again, depending on what your strategy is, you might need to have it in the bank if you got to wire something somewhere or something like that. So it's like, yeah, it could be risky. But once again, that's the risk that some people might take. But anyway, I can rant forever, but I'm not. As always, man, I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. Just wanted to give you an update as to what could be tomorrow. We'll see. But as of now, we're in the green, because there might be a bomb to drop somewhere, and then we're going to go even higher from there. So anyway, be blessed, be safe, people. Be back at tomorrow, Lord willing. And just, pray for our nation, pray for our leadership, man, and pray that God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. But then again, it will happen one day. All right, be blessed.